What's good everyone? I wanted to go over one of Azucena's trickiest strengths in her toolkit, which is the amount of lows that she has that have string extensions. This is really strong as the follow-up hits can catch our opponent trying to punish the lows. Even if you are familiar with these strings and their uses, I'm going to also break down some of the mind games behind them in depth, mind games that you will need once you reach the highest levels of play. Because none of these second hits to the lows are natural on regular hit at least, I'm going to focus this video on where I think they shine the most, which is for closing out rounds. Why? Because you'll be using them in such a way where if the low hits, it kills, but if they block the low and try to punish it, the follow-up can shut it down. Azucena has 4 main strings that can start this mind game: down 4-1, down back 3-4, lib 3-1, and down 3-3. You'll want to get familiar with how much damage the first low does for each of these strings, because if you are using it to close out a round, you need to know when it's going to kill. Also ideally, you'll want to know how much damage the follow-up does on hit and counter hit, because well, it will deal counter hit damage if it catches your opponent pressing their punish, so you also need to know when your follow-up will get the KO. Before I get into the moves, please note that you can't play these string mind games if your opponent is low parrying your lows. So to avoid low parries, try either time these lows right when your opponent gets off the ground so they don't get the option or time to, or change up your timing in open play with a delay such as sidestepping or waiting before doing the low to increase the chances of them blocking it instead rather than low parrying it. So starting us out with the moves is down 4, which is a quick 13 damage low with a high follow-up in down 4-1. If you want the follow-up hit to kill, you'll have to make sure the opponent only has a tiny bit of life left, as this follow-up only does 6 damage on counter hit. For our opponent to counter this string after blocking the low, they'll have to either remain ducking after blocking the low and launch us, or they can opt for a high crushing option from crouch like a shoe shine. Down jabs or 13 frame high crushing moves for the opponent are also a true option select punish, but they often net little damage unless you're someone like Jun, of course. If you do notice your opponent continuing to crouch after blocking the low to look for the high, Azucena also has a safe mid cancel of this string in down 4-1-2 that can counter hit launch them for trying to get a punish on the high. Just take note that if they go for their regular punish on down 4 after blocking it, or even an 18 frame or faster move here, this mid cancel will get interrupted. Alternatively, you can just do down 4 on its own if the opponent waits for the string, and either back off, or if you feel really confident, you can take the mental frames from their waiting to go for another game-winning mix-up. If the opponent instead opts for a high crushing option, this mid-cancel string will only work if the option they choose is 19 frames or slower. If it's any quicker, you'll have to do down 4 on its own, and then block their follow-up option, or low parry if it's a low of course, if that's what you want to do. Finally, both down 4-1 and as a result, its mid-cancel are very delayable if you want to throw your opponent off. Just keep in mind that if you delay for too long, you'll get hit by their regular punish anyway. Next up is down back 3, a 14 damage low with amazing tracking, as I'm sure you all know. Its attack follow-up, down back 3-4, is a launcher that will deal devastating damage if it catches our opponent's punish attempt on the first hit. This follow-up, like the previous string, is also a high, which means most of the mind games like down jab option selects, high crushing responses, or simply waiting for the high to get a launch all still work. However, this high is also unsafe on block, so if the opponent stand blocks it, they can also get a punish as well. This string also does not have a mid variation, meaning you have to do the first hit only to start your counterplay to their response. I have an entire separate video that highlights Azucena's back turn parry mind games that explains this down back 3 block situation in great detail. I won't double up on my explanation on this in the interest of time, but please check out that video shown in the description or on the screen now if you haven't already, if you want to understand the full mind game behind it. If your opponent does wait for the high however, just like with down 4, you can immediately bet it all on a mix up after they block your low, or just turn around and be happy they didn't punish you. Lib 3 also gives us the chance to play a low string mind game from Libertador stance in Lib 3-1. The first hit is a hefty 15 damage, and the second hit, even on regular hit, will knock our opponent down for a grounded follow-up and heavy damage. Unlike the previous 2 string mind games we just covered, the direct follow-up to this low is a mid, meaning they can't use high crush options to get out of the mind game. The opponent will have to stand block after blocking the low, and then punish us accordingly. The second hit, if blocked, leaves Azucena in -10 in back turn, meaning 10 frame or quicker moves are a guaranteed punish for the opponent. However, if they want to be greedy, they can try and get more damage on us by playing a mind game that exploits the fact that Azucena takes a little while to turn around. I explain this mind game in full detail at the 5-minute and 45-second mark of the video I mentioned earlier, which you can find in the description or on the screen now. The second hit of this string can also be delayed to throw them off, just be careful as delaying too long won't always interrupt their low punish. Similar to down back 3, the low on its own leaves Azucena in back turn, but this time at -9, meaning she can only parry mids that are 11 to 17 frames fast. Finally, as always, if the opponent stands up and looks for the second hit after blocking the low, either go for the game-winning mix or turn around. Saving the cheapest mind game of them all for last, we have down 3. This low is the weakest out of the 4 in terms of damage at only 10 damage, but the mind game that follows makes it insane. If the opponent tries to punish the low, they'll get caught by down 3-3, which is a mid that's -13 on block. This means they have to block the low, then stand up to block and punish the mid. However, there is also a third, wall-splatting mid hit in down 3-3-4 that will catch our opponent trying to punish the second hit. Absolutely insane, I know. If they block and punish down 3-3, rip the last hit to catch them. This means our opponent has to block the low, stand block the second mid, and then continue to wait to stand block the third mid to get only a 14 frame punish if they want to counter us here. In addition, if the opponent gets counter hit by our down 3-3 after trying to punish the low, we can counter hit confirm the 4 for big damage and even a wall splat, making this mind game viable at any point of the round if you want to be a little tricky. If the opponent waits after down 3 for the second hit, do down 3 on its own and play from there. If they wait for the third hit after blocking the second hit, you can do down 3 on its own, or even do down 3-3 on its own and go from there. The opportunities are endless, and if you think the opponent is trying to feel out when different hits of the string are coming, both the second and third hits of this string are mega delayable as the cherry on top. And with that, I'll leave it right there. Hopefully this video helps you out a little bit. I know the majority of players will struggle with these types of low strings, so they can be pretty cheesy ways to ensure you get a win. Only when you get to the higher levels of the game, I think you'll run into people who have some counterplay to them, but you know how to handle that now. Thanks so much for watching and for the support from everyone as always. I'll see you in the next one.